I always do that. I'm in that rider. Every time that I call this midnight,
Apparently not anymore.
Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm in that rider. Every time that I give what I gotta supply that fire. I supply that fire.
What is going on, bookworms, and welcome back to another episode of Bookmarks with Bump. I'm your host, Bump, and I'm coming live from the land before time. Sean Patrick Cote, National Academy of Sports Medicine certified personal trainer, Department of Labor apprenticeship, heading into journeyman status very, very, very closely here. The days are numbered on that apprenticeship, and who knows what's next for me in my career of a tradesman. I'm looking to expand. I'm always looking to move forward, move on, gain a new set of skills, and just get better day by day. And that's pretty much what's been going on a day-to-day basis for me as far as being in the gym goes. Today is Saturday the 19th of April. This episode comes out tomorrow. 420. Smoke 'em if you got 'em, guys. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Whatever it is. These days, things are a little bit different. We have stores that you can go to. Back in my day, I used to have to wait in the Burger King parking lot, and I thought every car was an undercover cop. I thought my life was over. Now the marijuana is, it's too early to say that, I think. Well, maybe I said it in a monetizable way. So regardless, you could go to a store and get your fix these days, which is interesting, which is tempting. It's always there. It's like the slant across the middle. Regardless, we'll move on and talk about more empowering things. Because listen, last night I got sent for a whirl. I went to visit my parents, and my mom had some cookies, and I was like, "Oh, these cookies look good." And I tried one, and what do you know? The next thing you know, I'm getting sent through the wash cycle. I'm sitting in the dryer. I'm spinning. I'm melting. I melted like a crayon last night into my couch. I mean, I haven't been in this position yet where I'm exhausted enough to just fall asleep on my own couch. I don't even have a wife in the bed who's mad at me, who's making me do that. That was just life. That was caused by life, and what a beautiful life it is. What a beautiful life we're living this weekend. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up what this weekend is all about. For the last 88 days, I worked relentlessly and tirelessly on a project at work because A, I'm Mr. Reliable, B, I'm an absolute dog, and C, they needed me. And a friend in need is a friend indeed, and a company that employs me is most certainly a friend. I am grateful for every chance I get at anything in life because, listen, that's what you have to be when you have a second chance. Ultimately grateful. Just be grateful, and your gratitude will be overwhelming, and that overwhelming gratitude will provide overwhelming opportunities, and on a day-to-day basis, that's what I get, and I do the most that I can with them. And it's panned out to give me some success thus far, but I am finally getting some days off. I have 3 days off in a row, and this is my second of the three, and I am completely losing myself. I woke up about an hour ago, brushed my teeth, I cleaned the toilet. You don't need to know that, but that's what I decided to do with my morning. Do a little bit of housekeeping, keep things on the up and up, and now I'm sitting down doing this podcast. Kind of, this will be my mental warm up before I go out and do my 8-mile long run. We are, let me look into the schedule because we're less than 30. We might actually be 30 days away. I don't know how many. No, we're not. We're 29 days away from race day, May 18th, for the Mystic Half Marathon, which I am so excited to get out there and tackle. I'm very excited to see how my pace has improved from the last half marathon I ran in an hour and 44 minutes. So I want to buck that down. And if I get under an hour and a half, I'll be going for a full marathon. How things have transpired this year because of the work-life balance. the Boston Marathon qualification. Is that in the air still? Of course it is. There's always an option, but I want to run this half marathon first and then assess what I'm doing going forward from there. If by some crazy um, happenstance I do not succeed in running a half marathon in under an hour and a half, what will happen then is I will run maybe 2 more half marathons this year and just really buckle down on endurance building and building that base and building speed into an endurance base. And we'll see what happens. If I get into a half marathon under an hour and a half, I will try to tackle a full marathon in less than 3 hours. Not to say that I don't deserve the chance, but I do feel like it's all worth the calculated risk. And if I go out and run a full marathon, that sets me up for more risk, especially if I'm not able to do it or if I'm not set up in a way to be able to beat the time that I need to. You could call it an excuse. I could call it being smart. Nonetheless, we're on week 8 out of 12. Today, my long run is 8 miles. And last week, my long run was 10. And let's talk about those 10 miles that I went out and ran on Saturday. They sucked. They sucked so bad that I didn't complete it. And that was the first time in this training schedule and in any training schedule in a long time where I did not complete the task ahead of me. How did I feel? In the moment, I actually felt relieved when I stopped running about 6.5 miles in. I felt relieved because I knew that I wasn't being an addict or an idiot anymore. I stopped because I literally had to. My legs, there was no. Do you ever have that mind body misconnection where you don't think, you think of the movement you want to make and you just can't? And that's kind of how my run felt for me last Saturday. I did not sleep well the night before, and I think that sleep is going to have to be a priority. Sleep is definitely going to have to be a priority, and I went out Saturday after the run. I walked the rest of it, but after the run, I went home. I took care of business, and I went to sleep, and I slept well into Sunday. And I went out Sunday, and I did it again. And this time, I completed the 10 miles. I completed it in under an hour and a half. I wanted to stay a bit under a 9-minute pace on that, just take it nice and easy, and I did. Nailed it. Banged it out. Did what I had to do. Made it look easy. And I surprised myself because I didn't know how that much mileage in 2 days would affect me. But there was a lot of fuel when I went into that run as well. I just had the fuel. I had the gumption. I wanted it. I wanted it so bad that I went out and got it. And nothing's gonna stop you when that's the case. Especially if all of the other things around you are buttoned up. Like right now, rest and recovery is a major priority for me. I don't always take care of it the way that I should. Sometimes I just man it out and do what I have to do because I'm a man about it. But the truth is that we do have to take care of ourselves, especially with this added amount of volume. When I'm in the gym right now, I'm doing more explosive training. I'm doing 5x5s. I'm not sure if I talked about that last week or not, but I did start that last week. So I'm on my second week of doing more 5x5 explosive training, and all of my auxiliary lifts are focused to running movements. I'm doing rotational shoulder press to strengthen the hips and shoulders in a sequential movement. I'm doing a overhead forward lunges. Keeping the shoulders stable and sturdy is an important thing when it comes to running and when it comes to running endurance. Like the four most pivotal parts of movement are coming from your knee drive and your arm swing. And you can't swing your arms without shoulders. Am I right? So I'm looking at things like that. The core work is kind of expanded into more. Excuse me. I'm waking up. The core work has kind of expanded into more rotational movement, more oblique focus, and then some lower ab work as well. I'm kind of looking at doing videos in the gym like um, not like a Joey Swole, but somebody who would talk over, or somebody he would stitch his TikToks with, I guess. I don't really know much about TikTok, man, and I don't really care either, but I just want to get some more content out there, especially with all these eyeballs on me. Shout out to all the people in Africa and India who are following me on Snapchat. You're all great, and happy Eid Mubarak and all that. Um, there are also plenty of Americans, and I appreciate y'all, especially if you've taken the time to listen to the podcast, because that's the only reason I do social media, is to promote anything that I truly do care about. And something that I truly do care about the reason that I got these next 3 days off. It's unfortunate that, well, let's start here. I've been chipping away at a project, like I mentioned earlier. And this weekend came up, and I was wondering if we're going to stay part of the course and just push through, or if it's a little bit different. And thank you to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for affording me these days off. So God bless it. Yeah, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 3 days off to rest, recover, and rejuvenate and bounce back stronger than ever. And it's been great for me because yesterday I just got to kind of chill and take care of a lot of the things that I needed to take care of. Let's talk about them. What did I do? I woke up. I prayed. I went for a run. I came home. I cleaned my whole apartment. I made breakfast. I went to the gym. I left the gym. I drove Miss Daisy, aka Shelby Lynn, to back to town. Her car was getting worked on by my brother. He's a dog. My dad was out there helping. He's a dog. So I got home. I changed my oil. I visited the parents. I ate an edible. I sunk into my couch. I did actually take some time to play some Madden with my buddy. My buddy wanted to play some video games, so I played video games with him. And that was the perfect activity for me to do at the state of mind that I was in, because there was no way that I should have been doing anything social or outside in the world. That's for damn sure. I would have made a damn fool of myself. People probably would have thought that I was drunk or something. They would have said, "Oh boy, the boy has relapsed. It's over for him." Because I could not move my mouth, which is interesting for me because I could yap sometimes. And in this case, I just couldn't. I was stuck, dude. I was absolutely stuck. I felt like I was in the sunken place. Regardless, I made it through, and I eventually made it up out of the couch into my bed, and here I am this morning doing a pod. And it's all because the Son of God and God as a man. We had Good Friday yesterday, and I want to talk about Good Friday. I don't want to just talk about Good Friday because of what it is and how important it is, and how great the only perfect man to ever live is. But I want to talk about Good Friday because I found a thread about it, and that's what we do here on Bookmarks with Bump. It's not just me gloating or talking or glorifying my life. No, no, no. It is also a podcast where we go over threads that interest me on the Twitter space. Things that I sat down and said, man, this would be a good read, and never read. It's time for me to read them now with y'all. Get a little discourse in, see how everybody's feeling. Oh, I want to do this too because I put out a poll yesterday on Twitter. Find me on Twitter at BumpOfTTS. I bet you nobody fucking voted on it. I had one vote. And it is a vote that I thought, there's been so many characters. I'll talk about that next week, the amount of characters that are in my gym. But there's this one guy who just incessantly stares at me. I don't think he speaks any English. I've waved before. He didn't wave back. I'm a pretty friendly guy, man. But this guy just stares at me like with a mean face. And he wears a hat. And so I think to myself, man, this guy's a weirdo, because there's just something about people wearing hats while they're working out that really grinds my gears. It, anyway, I put out a poll. People who work out in hats, weirdos, cool folks, who cares? And the only vote was for who cares. So, sorry for judging, I guess. Not really. Anyway, Good Friday. Nungba Burna Boy put out a thread. It's Good Friday. Many wonder what happened to Jesus' disciples after he left. All were killed except for one. A thread on what happened to them. Apparently, oh my God. So, I'm not going to give the credit. The credit has to go to the culturist. All right. Let's just say this. The thread goes, let's just go straight to the culturist, because there was a community note from that says that this Burna Boy fella plagiarizes every single thread. Oh man, I thought he was onto something with this one. All right, the 12 apostles. Hold on, the culturist. Oh my God. What an absolute debacle. So anyway, in honor of Good Friday and Easter weekend and Jesus dying for me to have a couple days off, I wanted to talk about Good Friday. I wanted to talk about a thread that would pertain to the issue, and I have one here by the culturist. The 12 apostles risked their lives to spread a Christianity across the globe. All but one were murdered for doing so, brutally. Here's what happened to them, starting with Judas, a thread. And as always, the link to the threads are always in the description. I suggest you read along, because there are always pictures, videos that go along with the threads that I'm not quite able to highlight at this moment in time right now. However, if you're following along, listening to the podcast, I think it makes a very happy medium. The thread goes on to say, preaching the gospel was a dangerous business in the first century Roman Empire and beyond. Christians were widely persecuted, and most apostles faced brutal martyrdoms for their teachings. Judas Iscariot, however, died before the resurrection. Consumed by guilt, he returned the 30 pieces of silver received to betray Christ and hanged himself near Jerusalem. First to be martyred was James the Greater, brother of John. Herod Agrippa was desperate to suppress the growing movement in Judea and had him beheaded before a crowd in Jerusalem in 44 BC. He basically made an example out of him. Emperor Nero was especially cruel, scapegoating Christians for the fire of 64 AD and branding them enemies of the state. Mass executions took place at his circus, of which St. Peter was one. Peter bravely took his ministry to center of the globe, Rome, making him a major target for Nero. Insisting he wasn't worthy of dying like Christ, he had the Romans crucify him upside down. Peter's legacy lives on as the first pope, and the majestic altar of St. Peter's Basilica stands just meters from where he was killed. His bones were only discovered in 1968, right beneath the altar floor where they were most expected. Well, I mean, I guess you don't want to tear up the altar, so that makes sense. Peter's brother Andrew also died on the cross after traveling through Asia Minor and Greece. What about Asia Flat? Roman authorities caught up with him in Patras and strung him on an X-shaped cross, now the national flag of Scotland. Philip, executed in Hierapolis for converting the wife of proconsul. For converting the wife of a proconsul, was also crucified upside down. As he hung there, he continued to preach. As tradition holds, he wasn't the only one. Bartholomew was skinned alive for converting the king of Armenia, but apparently kept preaching to a rapt audience as they peeled off his skin. But executions got even more brutal than that. Simon the Zealot and Jude traveled together to Persia, where Jude was beaten to death with clubs. Simon, however, was quite literally sawn in half by the authorities. Some apostles traveled even further. Doubting Thomas preached in India and later became its patron saint, although locals eventually came for him with spears. And Matthias, who replaced Judas as the 12th apostle, is thought to have journeyed as far as Ethiopia before local pagans beheaded him. Matthew, the redeemed tax collector turned gospel writer, also got to Ethiopia by many traditions. Again, he was martyred for his words, hacked to death with swords and spears. Others faced death in Jerusalem. James the Less was called to deny Jesus before a large crowd from atop the temple. Instead, he proclaimed Christ as the Savior before being thrown from the building and killed by a mob. Only John died of natural causes. It's thought he lived until 100 AD, exiled on the island of Patmos, where the book of Revelation came to him in startling visions. Is all this history? Although most of it isn't in the scripture, it does come from a very ancient church tradition. What is clear is that the Christian message terrified the powers that be. 12 great men had the courage to spread it anyway, and in doing so shook the Roman Empire to its core. And the Christian message was a shocking and stark contrast from what had been out at the time. What had been out at the time was very strict based, and tradition based. We do these things at these times, and if you don't, you're not a part of society. Christianity was very accepting and very understanding, very graceful. Christianity, to my understanding and my knowledge, is all about grace and compassion with the understanding that somebody died for us, somebody sacrificed themselves for us. And when Jesus was crucified, he was saying tetelesta, okay, which is a Greek word. And what that word meant was that it's finished. The debt is paid. It has many meanings in many different settings. In court, it means that the session is completely over. The sentence has been fulfilled. And in debt collecting, it means the debt has been completely paid. And what that means is that the mission was complete. Jesus spread his message and then was left to die. Um, he took the sins of this world with him when he was crucified and then left inside of that tomb, and he proved who he was 3 days later when that rock was moved and those clothes were folded. So when you wake up this morning, fold your clothes, go to church, and thank Jesus for what he did for everybody on this planet. We still have so much work to do, and it's all a matter of if you're repenting. It's not just saying, I have an excuse to be able to practice these bad behaviors. It's about trying to make a change as you're moving forward and not being too hard on yourself. A big thing about the disciples being killed was the lack of patience from the people in the crowds. They always promised that Jesus would return, and people would stop believing that at some point. Why should I believe that? Why should I believe that if it's not happening? Who are you to tell me that? Where's the proof? The proof is in the belief. The proof is in the faith. And that is just a little bit of what Christianity does for you, what the word, what the gospel, what scripture does for you. You have these interpretations you have to make. You have these connections you have to make. It's not always so straightforward. It's not always so straight-laced. It's kind of like a moral compass. It's kind of like a code on how to live life. We don't have a how-to life for dummies. But what I've learned through my reading of the Bible, through my attending of church, is that every single piece of scripture you can relate to some part of your life, and you can get better from it. You just have to have eyes to see and ears to hear, and you just have to have faith, and you have to have some sort of leadership in your life that you're able to follow, and understanding that life is bigger than you. Stop looking inside of yourself. Look outside of yourself. Think about what you could do for other people. We're all here to serve. Jesus Christ had the only perfect life, and he lived a life of service. So, if you want to be closer to God, live your life of service and serve other people. Think about other people first before you think about you. This is a weird juxtaposition. This is a weird segue. There's really not much of a segue at all, but I did want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the political world, even though I don't really want to. I mean, am I going to do this thread? I don't think I'm going to do this thread about El Salvador's president. I don't care what's going on. It's all nonsense. It's all trash, and it's all lies, and it's all fake ideal. It- we idolize these politicians, man, and they're not for us. There was only one person who was for us, and he died on the cross yesterday on Good Friday. Um, I don't need to talk about this. This is another first in the life of what the hell's going on. I'm not going to talk about this week because I don't care. But what I am going to do is take a page out of Bryce Mitchell's book. And listen, for whatever reason, this guy keeps popping up on Twitter. I don't like it. But we'll transition from somebody who people are comparing to Hitler to just talk about Hitler. Hi, Hitler. On June 22nd, 1941, Hitler betrayed Stalin and launched the deadliest invasion in history, Operation Barbarossa. The one decision sealed the fate of World War II and reshaped the world forever. Here's the full story. And also, here's a little bit more insight on why I feel like it's necessary to talk about Hitler. Bryce Mitchell went viral talking about Hitler, saying that until he did meth, he thought maybe he was a guy that he'd go fishing with. I'm not going to say that here. First of all, I don't want to fish with anybody who does meth. Second of all, the proof is in the pudding. The guy's a piece of garbage. Either way, either way the cookie crumbles. He still took the power of the world into his own hands and tried to be a god on earth, and that's kind of despicable to me. Regardless of if you think he's justified or not, which is a crazy sentence that gets said these days. Like, people actually think this guy was justified in being who he was. Anyway, nonetheless, we'll dive into this because it is, coincidentally, not only is it Easter, not only is it the weekend that Jesus gave his life for every man on earth, it's Hitler's birthday. So the thread goes on to say in 1939, Hitler was obsessed with conquering Poland, but there was a problem. Britain and France had pledged to defend Poland. Even worse, attacking Poland could drag the Soviet Union into the war, creating a two-front conflict, the scenario Hitler was desperate to avoid. Stalin, on the other hand, wanted to protect his borders and expand Soviet influence. He saw Hitler's desperation as an opportunity. After weeks of secret negotiations, their foreign ministers, Ribbentrop and Molotov, met in Moscow to sign the pact. Sounds explosive. The deal had two parts. A public non-aggression agreement where Germany and the Soviet Union promised not to attack each other. A secret protocol dividing Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Poland would be split, with Nazis taking the West and Soviets in the East. Hitler saw the pact as a green light to invade Poland. Stalin saw it as a way to buy time and secure territorial gains. Both believed they had outsmarted each other. Two mans of mustaches, Stalin and Hitler. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler launched his blitzkrieg against Poland. It's the first of the month, so wake up, wake up, wake up. Just over 2 weeks later, Stalin's troops invaded from the east. Hitler viewed Stalin as a temporary ally. In his mind, the Soviet Union was always the ultimate target. Stalin, meanwhile, was deeply suspicious of Hitler's intentions. Rightfully so. He famously read Hitler's Mein Kampf, underlining passages where Hitler described the Soviets as common blood-stained criminals. In 1940, the tension between them was palpable. Stalin began fortifying Soviet borders and annexing territory. Stalin began fortifying Soviet border. Come on, Sean. Let's spit it out now. Stalin began fortifying Soviet borders and annexing territories in Eastern Europe, including the Baltic states. Hitler interpreted these moves as a threat. In private, he began planning the invasion of the Soviet Union, codenamed Operation Barbarossa. On June 22, 1941, Hitler broke the pact and launched the largest invasion in military history. Over 3 million German troops stormed into Soviet territory. Stalin was caught completely off guard. Despite months of warnings from his intelligence officers and even Winston Churchill, Stalin refused to believe Hitler would attack because it would be stupid. But he did because he was stupid and drug fueled. The thread goes on to say the initial German advance was devastating. Entire Soviet armies were encircled and destroyed. By the end of 1941, German forces were at the gates of Moscow, but Stalin refused to surrender. Mobilizing the Soviet population and military, he began a brutal counteroffensive. Operation Barbarossa was a catastrophic miscalculation for Hitler. The invasion turned the Soviet Union into a formidable enemy, and the war on the Eastern Front became a grinding conflict that drained German resources and manpower. By 1943, the Soviets won decisive victories like Stalingrad and Kursk. For Stalin, the betrayal was a harsh lesson, yet it also solidified his resolve to destroy Nazis. The Soviets emerged from the war as a superpower, but at a huge cost. Over 27 million Soviet lives. The Nazi-Soviet Pact stands as one of the most infamous agreements in history. It was a deal born of fear, ambition, and mutual hatred, and it set the stage for the bloodiest conflict the world had ever seen. To me, that's a big tell of how paranoid this Hitler fellow was. He wasn't as well of a general as he was when it came to conquering land and building this empire. He did a lot of things based off paranoia. So much of that is probably due to the drug-fueled rage he would find himself in. There are so many interesting little tidbits out there now about the meth that was used to fuel these super soldiers that of the German army that Hitler had kind of put together. Talking about Hitler these days is a very polarizing subject. As time develops and history unfolds, there are a lot of interesting thoughts out about the fella. And to be quite frank with you, I don't know what to believe. A big part of me is just kind of believing what I see. I'm more of a show me, don't tell me kind of guy than reading the books and believing what's written in them. There can be so many different accounts of so many different people. The fact of the matter is what he caused throughout the world was a long lasting devastation. And part of that is just kind of based on the fact that he had 3 million people. 3 million people that he sent into Russia. Russia, who was an ally of his. I mean, the guy, he backstabbed, he did whatever he could to advance forward, and his real goal was to just kind of, he truly did want to take over the world. And I think that that's a big sign of somebody being very unstable. I mean, who really wants to run the entire world? Who wants that kind of responsibility? I'll tell you who. A complete psychopath. And we'll get into a little bit more on AH. Grease the Wheels put out a thread that starts with a very true fact. Adolf Hitler was a very bad person who caused a lot of harm and suffering. Duh. He was the leader of the Nazis during World War II and the Holocaust. Let's learn some surprising facts about him. The thread goes on to say, 1. Before becoming a politician, Hitler wanted to be an artist. Kind of like Charles Manson, huh? His father wanted him to be a civil servant, but Hitler liked art. After his father died, his mother let him switch schools. He did better in school, but failed to get into the art school due to the lack of money. Number 2, during World War I, a British soldier named Henry Tandy spared Hitler's life. Hitler was wounded, and Tandy chose not to shoot him. This story might not be totally true, but it's an interesting part of Hitler's past, and it's one of those things. I'm going off of the thread here, going on to my own trail. It's one of those things that, if you've ever seen the movie Butterfly Effect, it's just like a little ripple in the time continuum, right? How differently would the world look right now if Hitler was killed during World War I? That's something to soak in and think about. Nonetheless, the birthday boys survived. Number 3, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, a book that shared his racist ideas. It was banned, but still became a bestseller. It's like a porn book. In 1938, Time magazine named Hitler as Man of the Year because of his impact on the world. This was a year before he started the war. Someone also jokingly nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize, but it was withdrawn and Hitler banned Germans from accepting the award. Oh, out of bitterness, he said, none of us will get this award. That was a terrible, anyway. Number 5, Hitler's supporters overlooked his cruel actions because he improved Germany's economy after World War I. But Germany ultimately paid a high price for his actions. Cruel actions because he improved Germany's economy after World War I. Oh. That was a poorly written tweet. We're going to run into those sometimes on Bookmarks with Bump. Sometimes it'll be poorly read. Sometimes it'll be poorly written. Nonetheless, his supporters overlooked his cruel actions. He improved Germany's economy after World War I, but they ultimately paid a high price for his actions. Number 6, Hitler was very sick throughout his life. He likely had Parkinson's disease, which affects the body and mind. It can cause shaking, memory loss, and poor decision-making. Some people think Hitler's health issues helped drive his cruel actions. That's interesting. I thought he was always shaking because of the meth. Thread goes on to say, number 7, Hitler didn't drink or smoke, but he was addicted to drugs. He even started anti-smoking campaigns. I can get behind that. But his doctors gave him many pills and injections to help him feel better. These drugs affected his body and mind, and he took them daily to deal with problems like stomach issues, insomnia, and mood swings. Number 8, Hitler's death is still a mystery. Officially, he killed himself in his Berlin bunker in 1945 as enemies closed in. His body was burned, but some people don't believe this. They think he might have escaped to South America, Argentina, or somewhere else. We may never know for sure. It goes on to have a advertisement, and there are no free ads on this podcast. Grease the wheels. I know that I used your tweet deck as a bit of content for this podcast, but if you want me to promote you other than just giving the ad out, why don't you holler at me one time? Yeah, this death is still a mystery thing. That's something that happens often with these types of people. Think about Osama bin Laden. We never saw pictures of his body. They went in, SEAL Team 6 extracted the target. They eviscerated the target. And that's really all we know about that fateful day in Abbottabad, Pakistan, when they descended upon the compound. I think part of that is due to like outrage of supporters, and it could be anything. But the fact of the matter is, when that happened, the war ended, and we were able to move on in society. And now that we talked about Hitler, who was, given the soapbox to be a leader, let's talk about a real leader to end this podcast. I want to talk about Ted Lasso. Greg Berg said, say what you want about Ted Lasso, but the guy can lead. Yep, an American football coach who went overseas to become a soccer coach and de-relegate the relegation of his soccer club over there in England, despite the fact that the owner was trying to tank the whole process. He said, we're going to go out there and win. And there are 7 lessons that are leadership gold. Positivity, curiosity, and connection. Every coach and leader can learn something from this. And it is a little pictogram here. And as always, like I said earlier, the descriptions of the threads are always, the links to the threads are always in the description, and I suggest following along. It's a great way to learn. So we'll look at these leadership lessons from Ted Lasso. We can all learn valuable leadership lessons from Ted Lasso, and here are 7 of them. Number 1 is to bring positive energy. Ted is incredibly positive and optimistic, even in adversity. He encourages his team to focus on their strengths and celebrate their successes, no matter how small. Ted Lasso has a quote here. I do love a locker room. It smells like potential. Bringing positive energy is the number 1 thing to shifting a culture. That's what I try to do. That's what I try to do Everywhere that I go, every room that I step inside of, I try to bring the positive energy, and I'm on more often than I should be. There are days where I'm down, but I understand that people rely on me. And when people are relying on you, you have to bring the juice. And that's just part of being a man. And that's just part of being a leader. That's just part of being the change that you want to see in the world, is bringing the juice. Number 2 is to show empathy. Ted is empathetic and takes the time to get to know his players personally. It is all about relationships with Ted. If you have a special relationship with somebody, you could talk to them a little bit differently than anybody else. And I think that allows you to be a stronger leader, a stronger force in their life, because you're not only showing that you care about the outcome, you care about what's going into it, and you care about who's deciding that outcome. Ted Lasso's quote here is, "Your body is like a day-old rice. If it ain't warmed up properly, something real bad could happen." And that's the truth, Ted. You have to be authentic. Ted is authentic and genuine. He doesn't try to be anyone other than himself. He is honest with his players and colleagues, even when it's difficult. His quote here is, "You know what the happiest animal on earth is? It's a goldfish. Do you know why? It's got a 10-second memory." That's one big thing, is having a short memory in the middle of a game. Getting out and playing basketball again, playing 5-on-5s. This is where I bring my positive, authentic energy, and the 10-second memory is huge. I never focus on the play before. Once it's done, it's done. Let's focus on getting the ball back and making a better play moving forward. Use humor. Ted has a great sense of humor. He uses it to diffuse tension and bring his team together. He doesn't take himself too seriously, encourages his players to have fun and enjoy the game. Ted says it's kind of like back in the 80s when bad meant good. "I'm one bad mamma jamma." "I'm one bad dog." Yeah, using humor is big, and I think that's another way to bring positive energy, is just to get people laughing. 5 is be collaborative. Ted believes in collaboration and teamwork. He encourages his players to work together. Ted says, "I promise you there is something worse out there than being sad, and that's being alone and sad. Ain't no one in this room alone." And that's the truth. You have to pull ideas from everywhere if you want to have a successful team. Um, People are going to feel left out, and that's why a team at work or a team on the field or a team on the court, you have to be collaborative and take ideas or advices from all corners and let everybody have a chance to be heard. And that also helps with number 6, which is be a connector. Ted is a connector of people. He understands that a connected team is a winning team. If you care about someone and you get a little love in your heart, there ain't nothing you can't get through together, says Ted. And that's true. If you care and you're willing to stick it out with another person, you're going to try harder. And having a connection is what makes you try harder. I know a part of this podcast, part of me talking about my training in this, and is that I'm making connections with all of you listeners. When I'm able to vocalize what I'm doing in my training schedule, I mean, even last Saturday when I was on that 10-mile run, I thought about everybody who knows what I'm doing and all those connections that I've made along the way when I talk about my training. They want to know. They want to know how my races are going. They want to know how the training is going, how my runs are going. And I think having that connection is a bit of having, it goes strong into having accountability. We can say that we're going to do whatever we want to do, but without accountability, we can let that fall to the wayside. The biggest thing for me is practicing that accountability and staying steadfast in it and just being a dog. The last one is to be curious. Number 7. Ted does not know it all. He does not have all the answers. He does have all the questions, but he is curious. Ted says, I feel like we fell out of the lucky tree and hit every branch on the way down. Ended up in a pool of cash and Sour Patch Kids." I mean, the guy just had a way with words, huh? Shout out to Ted. Being curious is huge. I mean, and that's the big thing that I practiced over this last year. I tried so many different training methods, and I'm still trying. Like I haven't got it all figured out, you know. And that's the number one thing is no matter how much it may seem like I have it all figured out, I really don't. And I don't think anybody really does. And I think a big part of me having the understanding that's the facts is that I'm curious and I ask questions and I want to know the better ways to do things. I mean, last fall I worked with a running coach for about a month and I learned a lot. And you think 6 years into running, oh, you know everything about it, but I don't. I don't know everything. I don't know everything about podcasting. I don't know everything about being motivational or inspiring. I don't know everything about everything. I don't know everything about anything. There are things that I'm aware that I have a certain set of skills that I'm inclined to succeed and be the best in my area at. But does that mean I'm the best in the world? I don't think so. I don't think so. Some days it feels like I have the confidence to say that I am, but that's not always the case. And I'm willing to admit that, and I'm also willing to look and find out where I can learn more. With that being said, I appreciate you coming to this podcast in hopes to look and learn more about what I'm able to give out. That's really what we do here. This is a smorgasbord of whatever I deem interesting on a week-to-week basis, and we're just trying to pull and learn from all of the different facets of life, whether it be a leader of the world, whether it be a leader of men, whether it be a set of exercises or a set of diet tips. I'm here to try and make you want to make yourself better a little bit more day by day. That's what Bookmarks with Bump does. That's what we'll always do. And I please, if you enjoyed this podcast, I'd ask you to subscribe, hit like, leave a rating, leave a review, leave a comment. Follow me on my socials, Instagram, TCGXBump. Snapchat is Shondus. The Twitter is Bump of TTS. If you're looking to get a new workout plan, you can email me at bookmarkswbump@gmail.com. And as always, it's all love. God bless. Happy Easter. He is risen.
I've been riding a wave like I surf. I've been leaning in and out of work. I could show you what it's worth. Money to the ceiling. I started at the dirt. I've been riding a wave like I surf. I've been leaning in and out of work. I could show you what it's worth. Money to the ceiling. I started at the dirt. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear to God I get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire, man. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear to God I get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear to God I get higher, man.